It'll be interesting to see what Leandra thinks of the mystery in this.
There are a couple things that worry me when it comes to Brittany's appreciation of the book.
A little under 330 pages, which I really enjoyed, because sometimes with thrillers, they can kind of drag on, and that's never fun.
I didn't want the epilogue. I didn't want the epilogue. I hate when...
And the search for a 5-star continues. If you're new, this is the 5th installment of a project that I'm hosting with Brittany Loves Reading, Rainy Blue Reads, and Reads with Kelsey. Every single month, approximately, the 4 of us come together and try to read a book that we think the 4 of us will all give a 5-star, because we all read very differently, and we realized not all of us have ever agreed on one book. 2, maybe 3 of us have, and there's always one outlier. A lot of times it's me. Sorry, friends. And we have decided to challenge ourselves to find that ultimate 5-star that 4 very different readers can love equally. By introducing this as a 5th installment, clearly there have been some failures. Some have really crashed and burned, while others had promise, at least at the beginning. If you want to see our reactions to those books, I'll have everything linked in the description so you can catch up, so you can participate in the challenge to the fullest. But honestly, don't feel the need to go back right away. Stay here, watch this video, and then you can always go back after. At this point, each of us has featured one of these project videos on our channel, and so now we've kind of entered a new era, a season 2 if you will, and this season has provided us with the opportunity to change things up. It seemed as though with every installment we just got worse at trying to pick a book that all 4 of us could truly really enjoy, and so now we've decided to break off divide and conquer style. That means our group of 4 is dividing into 2 groups of 2, in which 2 people read one book, the other 2 have chosen a different title, and this vlog is going to encompass both experiences. If both groups come away with 5 stars, then there could be a chance that in the future we swap and see if those titles could work for the other 2, but we just realized that we might be biting off more than we can chew trying to get all 4 of us to agree, and so we thought, let's start small, have 2 people agree, maybe a 3rd, maybe a 4th, and just make it a slower process rather than just diving into the deep end and then just having us all basically drowned. If it doesn't make sense yet, I promise it will once I get into the books that we are reading. And the first pair I'm going to be introducing is myself and Brittany Loves Reading. We decided to do a randomizer. I put all of our names in different combinations on a spinner wheel, and this is what was decided. I'll be reading with Brittany. Kelsey and Rainey will be reading together. They've chosen their own book. The book that Brittany and I chose was actually immediate. Brittany offered this one title to me and I said, yes, that's a really good idea. And the book we're going to be reading is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is the first book in the Wayfarers series. It is space opera, sci-fi, something that both Brittany and I have enjoyed in the past. We've also enjoyed this author in the past, so it feels as though it's just the right choice. Both of us really loved A Psalm for the Wild build, and so we're hoping that that magic carries on to a different title, another series that a lot of people love by Chambers. We're just gonna have to see.
Leandra is back. I am so excited to be teamed up with Leandra to try and find a 5-star between the 2 of us. Now, I will say, this is the second time I've filmed this intro because we picked a book and I promptly DNF'd the book. And I do apologize, Leandra, for that. But luckily, we did it so early on in the process that we could just pivot and change to a brand new book. And I was actually really struggling with finding something that we would both enjoy because I picked the first book and then didn't like it. I picked it and then I didn't like it. And maybe I just can't pick books for myself. I don't know. Because the only other time I picked a book for this collab was Traveling Cat, and that's the only other DNF I've had. So maybe I should just not be allowed to pick books. Maybe the other 3 should always pick books for me. That is possible. I don't know. Anyway, I went to Leandra. We picked another book, and Leandra came up with this choice. And I think it's a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous choice. One thing I've been really enjoying lately is fantasy mystery genre blends. Leandra and I have buddy read quite a few recently or talked about books that we have both read and enjoyed and had discussions about them. So that seemed like a really good place to start. I also recently read a cozy mystery for another vlogging series and really reminded myself how much I liked cozy mystery. It's been a while since I've read one and I kind of wanted to get back into it, especially with this fall season coming up. And then you added in baking and dragons, 2 things that are absolutely, definitely Brittany coded. Like, anyone who has seen my channel knows that those two things are things that I love in books. So put it all together, and Leandra picked Baking Bad. And I think most people would assume that Leandra is going to like this more than me. And it's very possible that she gives it 5 stars because, I mean, she is the queen of mystery, let's be honest. However, that might mean that she's a bit more picky about mysteries. So it might mean that I am more likely to give it a 5 star, because where I don't know as much about mysteries, I'm more like, you get a 5 star, you get a 5 star with mysteries if I like the vibes. Like, I think I rate cozy mystery way more off vibes than I rate it on technical skill, because I don't really know that much about it. And also, cozy mystery is one of those ones that you kind of like have to suspend disbelief a bit, because it's not as realistic as maybe a thriller or an actual murder mystery would be. Anyway, I think Leandra is brilliant in this pick, as she is. You're on her channel. You know. You subscribe. You know she's brilliant. So I am going to get this started and see if this baking meets dragon meets fantasy meets cozy mystery works for me, and I suspect it's going to.
Yeah, it's true. We decided to jump ship very quickly and move on to Baking Bad by Kim M. Watt. I decided to just let Brittany explain exactly why this book seems to be better for the both of us. We both had high hopes, and I can't wait to show you what we ended up thinking about it. But before we get into it, I am going to send you over to Kelsey and Rainey to introduce the book they'll be reading during this project, and then we'll be able to jump into the vlog all together.
Rainey and I have locked down our book, which is The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier.
Now, we actually had chosen a different book at first, Smoke and Scar by Gretchen Powell Fox, because I was going to be meeting her at Villains and Vixens, and I was interested in it. Started reading it. It was really confusing. I knew it was going to require a lot of brain power, and we just weren't feeling it at the moment.
I don't think that either of us will DNF this. I don't think either of us will not like it.
It is actually her first work. It was released in 2014, so it's kind of old, so I don't know if it's going to have aged well.
In fact, I think we will both love it. Rainey has an amazing track record with Jennifer Hillier. I think she's loved all of the books she's read by her.
I have read all but 2 of her books, this one and the sequel to Creep called Freak. I've read every other book of hers. I love Jar of Hearts. I love Wonderland. I liked Little Secrets. I liked Things We Do in the Dark. Like, they're all really great books. And I need her to write a new book. And apparently, she's not writing a new book until August of next year.
I've also really enjoyed Jennifer Hillier's books. I have not given them a 5. I've given them a 4. Little Secrets and Jar of Hearts I really enjoyed. So I am really excited to dive into this and get going. And hopefully we both give it 5 stars. We will see. Just to give a quick synopsis of what this book is about. I haven't read it, but I have read the back and it sounds really intriguing.
So if you don't know what The Butcher is about, it's about this guy named The Butcher. It was a serial killer.
It follows a police officer, Edward, who he kills a notorious serial killer.
Everyone's like, yay, The Butcher is dead.
However, that was years ago.
That was happening in the, I think, 70s and 80s.
Now he's 80, he's retired, he's moved into a retirement home, and he gives his large house off to Matt, his grandson. Matt starts going through the house to get it ready for renovations, and he ends up finding a crate which contains some very important information about Matt's girlfriend Sam's mother's killing.
And she basically thinks that her mom was killed by the butcher, but 2 years after he was arrested. So she thinks they got the wrong guy. She's like a journalist reporter, and she wants to write a story on it, and so she's looking into it.
So he finds some very important information regarding that.
And he's like, what do I do with this information? And that's where we're at.
So I think this will just be a very bingeable book. I think it's going to be one where I can't put down. That's what I find with Jennifer Hillier's books. I find like you get super hooked, you cannot put it down, and they tend to be very good on audio, so I am going to try to get the audio as well so I can read as I listen. So I am excited and hopeful that we will both love this.
I think it could be a 5 from both of us. I really, really do. Miss Jennifer Hillier just knows how to write a book that I love.
Can I say the same about Leandra and Brittany? I'm not sure. I won't even go there yet. Let's just focus on Rainey and I and what we'll give this book.
I'm going to get started on it, and you'll see me, I think, at the 30% update. This is exactly what I needed right now.
I will say that a lot of these characters are crazy.
Okay, y'all. We need to do a 33% update for the Butchity Butcher, okay? And my uppity diddly date is I'm eating this shit up. Jennifer Hillier knows how to write a book that I will just love. I'm telling you, I've never given her anything lower than a 4. Her writing style just really works for me. In fact, she's one of the first authors that, like, after I started really reading again and I read Jar of Hearts, that I just got that immediate feeling of certain writers are just writing to me. They know my writing style, my writing taste. This book is so intriguing. Now that we've got a lot further, I know who the butcher is, which, shocking. And I just love the fact that it's like we know all this information and all the characters like don't necessarily know it yet. And it's like, oh, but if you knew this and you knew that, then you wouldn't do this and you would do that. And so it's like you have the insider information, but you can't do anything. You can't tell the characters and you're just waiting for them to put all the pieces together. And I'm really liking the audiobook. I like the narrator, the way that they're doing like the different characters, and I'm loving getting the different switches in perspective. I'm very, very intrigued. I'm having a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous time with this book. This is exactly what I needed right now. I feel like I've kind of been in a slump as of late and I just haven't really wanted to be reading. And I just knew that a Jennifer Hillier thriller would definitely help with this. Honestly, it was really hard for me to even put down the book to not keep reading and binging because I'm having so much fun. Like I looked up and was like, oh crap, I'm almost at like 35%. I need to stop and do an update. So I'm sure you will see me, if not in this same exact spot because I'm just reading and reading away, then you'll see me a little bit later and I will come to you at a 66% update and then a final update. But so far, it is still really shaping up to be a 5-star for me. Like I really feel good 5-star energy from this. And I hope that Kelsey's feeling the same way.
So I have made it to the 30% mark of The Butcher and things have really picked up. In fact, it started off just super strong with a ton of action. We learned what's in the crate. We learned a lot about the characters. I will say that a lot of these characters are crazy. The only one that I really like is Sam, and then a character that I think if I say anything, it'll be a spoiler. But it's definitely dark. Jennifer Hillier's books are usually that way, but they're jam-packed with action and you can't put it down usually, which is the case with this one. Is it giving 5-star energy? No, not at this point. So far, I think that I liked Little Secrets more than this, and I gave that a 4. However, I think this could be a 4, but we need a 5, so we'll see.
I'll be interested to see if Brittany makes this connection specifically because she loves this series and it didn't work for me.
And it's actually reminding me of a book that I have given 5 stars. So I just finished chapter 9 of Baking Bad, and I'm so glad that we are reading this book.
Now, I wasn't having a bad time with A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I was enjoying it. It was feeling like a 4-star, but I am really having a hard time not honestly reading this in one sitting.
This is such a fun, cozy mystery. It's exactly what I would want a cozy mystery with a fantasy element to be.
Cozy mystery meets cozy fantasy, and we have a great cast of characters. I really like them. I'm invested in the mystery. I love the cozy elements. I love the dragons as main characters. We're even in the POV of Mortimer, one of the dragons during this book. I'll be interested to see if Brittany makes this connection specifically because she loves this series and it didn't work for me. But the two leading women, Miriam and Alice, do remind me of the two main characters who were elderly women in the Thursday Murder Club.
And it's actually reminding me of a book that I have given 5 stars, which was Thursday Murder Club. I think the character work in this is very, very similar.
I wasn't vibing with that dynamic. I really liked the one character who was very sweet and journaling, that perspective, but the other one just grated on me. I really just could not get behind her. And yet Alice, who isn't very different, I'm adoring her. I'm obsessed with her. I really love them. So I think that that's very interesting, that I am confident I could recommend this to people who like the Thursday Murder Club, even though that didn't work for me, and I'm really loving this.
We have two women in the Women's Institute that are trying to solve the murder of the vicar in their small town.
The vicar was poisoned. He's found in his home by one of our main characters, Miriam, and she is a gentle soul. She's very sweet, exactly the type of elderly woman you expect, where she tends her garden, she bakes, she's just lovely, caring, just the sweetest person. And then we have Alice.
The police are kind of thinking that someone in the Women's Institute was the one who poisoned the vicar. And Alice is like, no, it was not us. And Alice, to me, is very, very Elizabeth-like in the Thursday Murder Club. They're both like in charge. They know exactly what they're doing. They're taking charge, very, very focused.
She is the leader of the Women's Institute and kind of the literary foil to Miriam in the best way possible, where she is the self-assured elderly woman who will take no sass.
And I really find them very comparable. Then we have Miriam, who is like the sidekick to our Alice. And she is very Joyce-like to me from Thursday Murder Club because she is this cute character. She's an older lady, again, helping in this Women's Institute. She likes to bake. She's making sure all the police officers have like baked goods and cups of tea. And I just love her so much.
I really like the dynamic of Alice and Miriam together. And of course, they have a little bit of a secret. Not only are they concerned that there is a murderer amongst them, but now the village of Tutansel is flooded with cops. Specifically D.I. Adams, who is determined to find out who killed this vicar, and she's got her eye on the Women's Institute. And they don't want that. The last thing they want is for the police to be sniffing around because they do indeed have a secret, as I said. That secret is that they know dragons exist. They feed them scones and other baked goods. It's a great communal type of arrangement going on. And two of those dragons are Mortimer and Beaufort.
Now, the other two members of this little group of crime fighters are dragons. It's really interesting to see how the dragons fit into this world. They're about the size of dogs. I know that one of them was even compared to the size of like a Newfoundland dog. So that's about the size of the dragon that we're talking about, not, big dragon riding dragons. So these dragons have been kind of hiding from society, secret for a very long time, because obviously the history between humans and dragons have not always been easy to navigate. But Alice and Miriam know about these two dragons because over a series of events in the past, they have met each other and become friends. And they are really interesting and different as well. We have Beaufort, who is clearly a senior dragon. I mean, in the realm of dragons. Dragons obviously live for a very long time, but clearly he is a more senior dragon and he is very wise, but also very ready to kind of like take control as well and kind of steer the ship with Alice.
Beaufort is far more adventurous. He's kind of an old soul. And Mortimer is far more cautious.
A little bit more blumbling about in his way. And I find him so endearing and so adorable.
More on Miriam's side of personalities. And this foursome get themselves into trouble. They break into the vicar's home to find evidence. There's chaos. There's a chase. It's just really good fun. I think it's really quaint. It's really cute. And I'm telling you, if this book had been published maybe in the last year or two, I feel like it would have been snatched up by a big publisher ASAP. And I'm not complaining that this is self-published. Honestly, go support this author. I'm not done with the book yet, but I'm really, really liking it.
I really like this small town. It's quite cute. Everybody knows everybody. I mean, even the local police, everybody knows them. Their mother's in the Women's Institute, or their sister, or their aunt, or even their wife, and that's very, very cute. We do have one DI agent coming in from like a larger city who is just trying to survive in this small town and deal with these quirky people getting in her way while she's trying to solve a crime.
I also it's the type of cozy that really works for me. We've got a community, we've got quirky, silly characters, we've got a little bit of chaos, but all in good fun. And we also have kind of set rules. We know what's going on. We know who knows what. And also there's a mystery, there's a murder. I mean, I don't think I could have asked for more. And personally, this could be a 5-star. I'm feeling like it could also be a 4. Like, I wouldn't be mad if I walked away from this experience with a 4-star. I would continue the series, but as far as cozies go and what it's checking off my own preferences, this definitely feels like it could be a 5-star. And I hate to say this, but I guess I'm glad that Brittany wasn't really having a good time with Becky Chambers this time around, because that's the main reason why we picked this. So thank you, Brittany, for having a bad time. I'm glad that you weren't liking your book, because now I think we have a winner.
I'm excited to see how it goes from here. I want to know who killed the vicar, who poisoned the vicar. I need to know this information. I want to see this little group continue to get their little crime fighting chops. Obviously, this is the first crime they have, done together. So they're all trying to figure out how they investigate a crime, and they're really just just so cute together. The two dragons, the two ladies, and then this like random DI agent, which I actually really like as well. So yeah, I'm liking the vibes a lot in this book. I'm really glad that we're reading it, and I will check back with you when I finish.
I hope there's no questions left unanswered at the end of this. An open-ended thriller for this wouldn't really work, and it would kind of make my rating go down potentially.
What it's going to boil down to is how do they end it? Because some thrillers don't end well.
I am officially 60% of the way through The Butcher, and I'm really enjoying it.
If this book is not a 5-star, I just don't know what is. This is literally like, it's not a perfect thriller, and it's like fairly predictable and shit. But I'm just having so much fun. I'm telling you, I'm just having fun. The pages are flippity floppity flying.
Very bingeable thriller, I will say that. I've been listening mostly on audio. I don't even know why I bought the book, to be honest with you, because I haven't really read physically. I started to, and then I just switched to audio because it's a really good audiobook. With that being said, I do hate being in the butcher's point of view, especially hearing it. I think it's really well done, but it's definitely disturbing to hear some of his thoughts. It's not super graphic like I find Jennifer Hilliard's other book, Jar of Hearts, very graphic to the point where I had to put it down. It's not that bad, but it's definitely disturbing to hear his point of view. Another character I can't stand is Matt. I don't like him whatsoever. He's really horrible to Sam.
Let's just say, boyfriend is really on my shit list. He's on my shit list. He is not doing nice things to Lady Pop in here, Girly Pop, okay? And let's just say she's getting a little too close to the sun. She's traveling a little too close to old Butchity Butcher. And I am worried that she is going to meet her downfall, okay? Now, I at least think that me and Kelsey are both going to really, really enjoy this. But really, what it's going to boil down to is how do they end it? Because some thrillers don't end well. And I could foresee, if it doesn't go in a direction that Kelsey absolutely loves, her giving this a 4.
I hope there's no questions left unanswered at the end of this. An open-ended thriller for this wouldn't really work, and it would kind of make my rating go down potentially.
But I still think that she's going to give it at least a 4 or a 5. That's really where my hope is in all of this, and I'm hoping I'm right. I am still on track to give this a 5.
So I am hoping in the next 40% we get answers and that it is a 5-star. I really hope so. We'll see what happens in the next 40%.
I'm not gonna lie. I have a lot of time right now to read, and I've got about 100 more pages left, and you might just see me in the same exact outfit, same spot, because I don't know how I'm gonna stop at this point. Like, I literally don't know how I'm ever going to stop. So let's go finish this bad boy out.
It'll be interesting to see what Leandra thinks of the mystery in this.
There are a couple things that worry me when it comes to Brittany's appreciation of the book.
So I just finished Baking Bad, and this is gonna get a 3-star, which is kind of surprising because the last time I talked to you, I was really liking the character work, and I was really liking the dragons, and I was really enjoying the fantasy element of that, and I was intrigued in the mystery. However, I think the mystery is the weakest part of this book. It'll be interesting to see what Leandra thinks of the mystery in this, because I do think she is more of an expert on mysteries than I. But I felt like the mystery was the weakest thing. I don't think we focused on it nearly enough with this being a cozy mystery with a fantasy element. Like, it seemed like the back seat to everything else going on, and I wanted to dive more into the mystery. In this book, again, we have like our Women's Institute, Alice and Miriam and the Dragons. We have D.I. Adams, who is the actual investigator, and most of the book is them looking at each other. Alice and them don't trust D.I. Adams to actually get to the end and get to the solution of this mystery. D.I. Adams is so focused on them and all their shenanigans that she is not really solving the mystery. So they're like going around each other the entire book. And since neither of them did the crime, we don't really get much of the actual investigation of the crime. And there is a lot of talk about the dragons, and I did appreciate that. We did meet even more dragons after I talked with you. And again, I liked that. I liked seeing why dragons have been hidden. Should they maybe come out more? Should more people know about dragons? Are people trying to like figure it out? Are people seeing glimpses of them? What is this? Finding like dragon scales and trying to figure out what they are. Like, that part I enjoyed, but I just think overall the mystery was forgotten about in so many instances because of all these other things going on. And I wanted more focus on the mystery. And that's really why it got 3 stars. I think if I was just looking at the character work and the fantasy and the small town element, because I do think all of those were done really well, this might get a 4. But I just feel like we forgot that this was a mystery. I mean, the whole base of this, the entire plot of it is to solve who killed the vicar, and we do. But at the end of the day, it is definitely not the focus. And a lot of time through this book, I was waiting for somebody to actually do some investigating. And it was so rare and few and far between. So 3 stars. Back to the drawing board for this team, because I don't know what Leandra gave it, but I do know that I didn't give it 5. So we're gonna have to just keep trying.
Many days later, I have finally finished Baking Bad by Kim M. Watt. I am the last person in this project to finish her book, and so now I can finally move on to the editing process. Maybe not immediately, but very soon. And I actually really enjoyed my time. The book was delightful. Me taking a while to finish it was not the book's fault. It was actually my life preserver. It was my raft in the middle of an ocean while I was just trying to get healthier, trying to stay on top of things at work, with TBR Harvest just around the corner, and now it's in full swing. And this was a delightful time. I definitely recommend this for any cozy mystery or cozy fantasy readers, especially if you're looking for something to get you in your feels during the autumnal season. I think this takes place in the summer months, but I still think that it's totally worth it and very autumnal in the vibe because it's got a great cast of characters. It's for character-driven readers 100%. There is a mystery plot. We're trying to figure out who murdered the vicar, but in reality, what it comes down to enjoying this book is dependent on you caring for the characters, really appreciating the dynamic between Alice and Miriam, appreciating what D.I. Adams provides as an outsider trying to figure out what the heck is going on while trying to solve the crime. We also have more dragons to meet, not only Beaufort and Mortimer, but there are a couple other ones, some meat eaters that get into trouble, and it's just a really funny time. When I say that though, there are a couple things that worry me when it comes to Brittany's appreciation of the book. She's been in a bit of a cozy era lately, especially she's picked up a couple cozy mysteries and they've worked for her, so I can see her enjoying this, but there are a couple little things that typically don't work for her when it comes to story structure, so I'm not sure if she's going to enjoy it as much as I did. The first thing is that once in a while, we will get a scene that is just complete, utter chaos. You are following one perspective per chapter, and so we are jumping around different people's heads, and because of that, I think the author tries to provide a lens of everyone's perspective on a certain event, and so you might be watching this event while chaos is breaking loose at the vicarage from one of the dragon's perspectives, Mortimer. And then after all of that happens, after the dust settles and the chapter closes, we may jump into one of the humans' perspectives, Miriam or Alice, or even D.I. Adams, but we're at the same scene. It opens and kind of shows their own actions in a different way, so it's not a copy and paste of the event. It's still quite fresh and different because it's adding context. I think it works for me just because it is explaining how hilariously ridiculous this scene is, and it's just a comedy of manners. But I know that Brittany doesn't usually like when we get a repeated scene. She talks about this often in romances because there'll be a dual perspective in romances, and you'll get one romantic lead's perspective on the scene, and then the next chapter you get the same exact scene but from the other lead's perspective, and I can understand that being really grating. For me though, this worked because it just honestly explains why everyone is kind of off their rocker and is just a little bit insane, and the only person who is sane in this entire book is the inspector, and she's just like, I think I'm going insane because how else can all of these people be functioning, and I'm the only one who is like, this isn't normal. So I eat that stuff up. That's the kind of humor I really like that almost leans on the absurd without being completely absurd. And that's the second point that Brittany may not vibe with, because I know that absurdist humor can be hit or miss for her. It doesn't always work. She likes a funny book. She totally does. But humor is so subjective that we all can't predict what we're gonna find funny or not, and I found this hilarious, and I also found it very sweet and heartwarming. There were some really honestly thoughtful observations from the dragons' perspectives and how society has changed. It reminded me a little bit of Green Teeth in the sense that these mythical creatures, these creatures of myth and legend that according to our modern perspective, the real world, they're made up, right? They're not real. And these dragons are recognizing that they are being forgotten and that human society continues to build and build, continues to urbanize, taking away the land, taking away the environment, taking away safe places for these magical creatures to continue to exist while staying under the radar and not getting mixed up in human life. And that's exactly where Beaufort and Mortimer and the other dragons' perspectives are coming from as they realize that the environment's ever shrinking because villages, rural life is being encroached upon by expansion from urbanization, from globalization. And it kind of broke my heart. The mystery was okay. I think that it wasn't as easy or fair play just because the culprit wasn't really on our minds or around us as much as I would like it to be on the page, but still a great time, and I would totally continue with the series. This was a win for me. I hope it was a win for Brittany. It wasn't a 5-star though, I will say that, even though with cozies, I typically rate a little bit more kindly when I'm really enjoying them because it doesn't happen that often. Definitely 4-star range. I did enjoy it enough to the point where I could see myself rereading this. Again, I want to continue the series. And so I am feeling like a 4-star read. This was solid, can't recommend it enough. And if it was a different day, I could even bump it to a 4.5 just because I did find it delightful and the characters were wonderful. I could see that happening as I continue the series, as I fall in love with these characters ever more, because this is going to be a comfort read. I can already predict it.
A little under 330 pages, which I really enjoyed because sometimes with thrillers, they can kind of drag on and that's never fun.
I didn't want the epilogue. I didn't want the epilogue. I hate when, hello, it's me again. Did you miss me? Okay, I finished. I sat here and finished. I couldn't stop reading. So obviously we know what my rating is going to be. 5 stars. I really enjoyed the perspectives and I loved just the whole idea of getting to know who the butcher was from the get-go and like getting to see like his secret agenda and also like, you know, the boyfriend's agenda and the girlfriend's agenda and then how all the storylines like intertwine and merge together. Like that was really great to watch. Now the ending. Was it my favorite ending of all time? No, not necessarily. And also, this had an epilogue. I didn't want the epilogue. I didn't want the epilogue. I hate when books do like epilogues, like especially in thrillers, if they're like romancy stuff too. Now I will say, there was a romance and some tension in here. That was not 100% my favorite, and so that could have bumped it down to a 4.5. However, I had so much fun the entire time that, like, sometimes you just have to ignore, like, 1 or 2 things that irked you if you had the greatest time ever, and, like, this is still a 5-star to me. Like, I still absolutely loved this. However, I do think that the romance that's, like, not really needed, because you don't really need romances in thrillers, and the ending itself is going to bump Kelsey down at least a star. At least that's how I'm feeling in this moment. I would highly recommend this book. I think it is a fabulous thriller. I think that Brittany could really enjoy it. I could see the same problems arising for Brittany as it would Kelsey. I honestly don't think Leandra would like this now that I've read it because of the romancy thing. Like, I just could see her being like, why is that in here? Why is that a plot point? Why are we wasting our breath on this? Which, same. Totally get that. Like, I'm not saying I don't understand. So I would say that this was a success, whether or not we both gave it a 5. We both really enjoyed it, I'm sure. And so, you know, on to bigger and better books, I say.
So I'm officially done The Butcher and I really enjoyed it. I thought the audio was really good. I thought it was super bingeable and I was super hooked throughout the whole book. I love that it was a shorter thriller. It was only about a little under 330 pages, which I really enjoyed because sometimes with thrillers, they can kind of drag on. And that's never fun. With that being said, unfortunately, I'm still not at a 5-star. I'm rating this 4-star. I don't do half stars or I do a 4.5. Really loved it, but it didn't necessarily rank higher than Jennifer Hillier's other books that I've given 4 stars. I think Jennifer Hillier is just like a 4-star thriller writer for me, which is still good. A 4-star is good. I don't know. I know Rainey's rating, but either way, based on my rating, we're doing this again. I'm not sure how Brittany and Leandra are making out, but I'm excited to see what they rate their book and see if we'll be reading that. Unfortunately, they will not be reading this book, but that's okay. We will try it better next time.
And there we have it. Another 5-star project under our belt that failed at the end of the day. For us personally, it wasn't a failure simply because no one DNF'd, and it's been a while since that's happened. Also, no one necessarily hated their book. Brittany gave the lowest rating of the 4, and that was a 3-star. I ended up giving the same book, Baking Bad, 4 stars, and I am definitely going to be continuing the series. I really enjoyed it. I think we both can recommend it to anyone who likes cozy fantasy, cozy mystery. Check it out. Support an author who's been self-publishing, who has a lot of books to share with the world. And then our friends who are reading a thriller following a serial killer, Kelsey and Rainey, also had a great time with their book. Kelsey ended up giving the book 4 stars, nothing to be upset about. And then Rainey has had a great track record with this author and she gave it 5 stars. Again, nothing to complain about. She had the best time out of the 4 of us. The one downside is that neither book is going to be moving forward in the challenge simply because the 2 pairs didn't end up leaving with 2 5 stars for the book. So there's no reason to really exchange them. There's no reason for myself and Brittany to be reading the book by Hillier. And there's no reason for us to give Kelsey and Rainey the cozy fantasy mystery. And so we're starting from scratch again, meaning that next time we'll be having the 5-star project featured on Rainy Blue Reads channel, so be sure to subscribe to her as well as Kelsey and Brittany because it doesn't seem like this challenge is going to be ending anytime soon. And we will also be pairing off in 2 different pairs. I'm not going to be giving anything away, so if you want to see whether I'm going to be reading a book with Rainy or if I'm going to be reading a book with Kelsey next time, you're going to have to tune in and check out Rainy's channel when the time comes. Thank you all so much for getting to the end. If you've been here since the beginning of the project, thanks for continuing to root us on, for supporting this venture because we're having a really great time with it. And also, if you've been here but you don't really feel chatty, don't have anything to say, any reactions or strong emotions in the comments, but you do want to prove that you've been here, how about in honor of Baking Bad and kind of the butcher, weirdly enough, because even though the butcher was following a serial killer, it does provide this nuance of food because a butcher is also a vocation that is respected. Meanwhile, we have Baking Bad, baking in the title. A bit of a weird through line now that I think about it, because both of these books involve murder, one a cozier variety, the other one quite chilling, and both titles involve food. But you know what? We're gonna stick with it. Please provide any type of food emojis in the comments to let me know that you've been here, as I said. And thank you for being here, truly. If you want to stick around, be sure to subscribe. But I also understand if you just are passing ships of the night, wanted to see what myself and my friends were up to. If you're interested in them, I will have them linked below. And I hope that you are enjoying everything that you're reading this month, this year, whenever you get to this video. And I do hope to see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.